Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to QnA, the show where I take your questions and answer them here in video format. A ton of questions to get into, so let's just get started. First question comes from Jake, who says this: in what world is Denzel Ward not on the NFL's top 100 list? I can't understand the disrespect he gets year after year. Here's the thing that's fascinating to me. Every year, people tell me, well, Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in football. Jamar Chase is at least one of the best wide receivers in football, right? And if you ask Jamar Chase, who's the corner that gives you the most problems, he's telling you it's Denzel Ward. Now, that should be enough for most people. That should be enough to at least be on the top 100 list. I don't know why it is that Denzel Ward tends to be slept on when it comes to lists like this. Maybe it's because the Browns aren't as successful as other teams are, but other players have no problem finding national appreciation despite not being in winning predicaments all the time. So, yeah, I don't know. People just don't really understand Denzel Ward, or maybe they don't get it, or maybe they're too over-reliant on Pro Football Focus grades in their evaluation of Denzel Ward. But anybody will tell you who watches him week in, week out, anybody will tell you who has played against him, that Denzel Ward is one of the best corners in all of football. Don't know why he continues to be left off lists that I think he clearly has earned a place on. But that's just the NFL 100 list, P Money Music says this: everybody will talk about QB, but there are some interesting expiring contracts this year. Alex Wright, Ronnie Hickman, Diabite, Joel, Wyatt, I think Jack Conklin, etc. Some impact players for this team. Who do you think should be retained and who you think will be replaced? Well, I want to answer that question, but before I do, I want to thank my sponsor for today, Sleeper.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code WORSTTAKE. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
All right, so of the people that P Money brought up in this question here, I think Ronnie Hickman would make sense to bring back. He wouldn't be that expensive. Maybe Diabite. I think Joel is going to retire after this year. Wyatt, I think they got to keep Wyatt. If they can keep him at a respectable deal, they would. I think it's time to move on from Jack Conklin. And then Alex Wright might get a deal back. I think they're going to try to keep as many of them as possible, especially the guys under 30, especially like if Ronnie Hickman continues to play well. So, I think they'll continue to do what they've done over the years, which is retain the talent that they like. The Browns have done a good job with that, despite having to deal with a more complicated cap situation with Deshaun Watson's deal kind of hanging in there. Now that that's less of a thing and it's a lot easier to push money into later years to avoid that, I think they'll be able to keep everybody. Luke says this: hey, Q, if Quinshon does not play on Sunday, how many carries do you expect him to get, and what other roles could they use him for? Now, this is the big question going into this game. I think a lot of people are asking, should the Browns play Quinshon Judkins in this game, considering the fact that Quinshon has not played in the preseason or in training camp? Now, me personally, I'm of the belief that running back is one of those positions that you can come in after a long time and play. I know some people are focusing on the fact that he hasn't played since January. That means nothing to me. He's practiced this year. He practiced this week. He practiced in basically, if you're the Browns, you need to ask yourself, one question. Can Quinshon go into a game and run a handful of plays without messing them up because he's unfamiliar with them? You know, if you felt good about his ability to do that in practice, then I think he plays. If you didn't feel great about that, then he doesn't. You know, I know some people are like trying to protect, oh, he hasn't played in a while, we can't just throw him out there. Well, what are you going to do? There's no more preseason, right? There's no more training camp. So he's going to be thrown out there eventually. Why wait, right? Like, if he's ready to go, if he's physically up to the task and mentally up to handle a limited role, then what's the problem? You know what I mean? Like, what's the big deal here? I don't get it. I think Quinshon, if he wants to play, if he's prepared to play, if they feel comfortable with his ability to handle a smaller workload internally, yeah, he should play. You know what I mean? Like, there's no other way to get him ramped up. You got to start at some point. Why not this week? You know, I know the Ravens are a tough team, but that cannot be a reason not to get somebody ramped up in the NFL. Every week's going to be a tough team. But yeah, that's I think Quinshon will play and should play, in my opinion. All right, let's go to the next question. Comes from Tyrone. Hey, Q, I know it's early, but I can't help but think that these vets are going to feel outshined by these rookies. And Njoku and Jerry will have a decreased target load if Fannin keeps this up, especially if Quinshon and Dillon can create stable run game. I don't know about that. Like, you know, I don't think anybody's going to care about who's getting the most targets if they're winning games, one. But two, Njoku's going to get his, Jerry Judy's going to get his, and so is Harold Fannin. He's going to get his as well. There's plenty of targets to go around on this offense. You know, the Browns aren't so deep. And it's funny that we're having this conversation because this is what's driven me crazy over the offseason with the discourse about the Browns offense, right? On one hand, people will tell you that the Browns don't have enough. We don't have enough wide receivers. We don't have enough pass catchers. We don't have enough. And then now, because it's obvious that, you know, we're not in some anemic position, the argument turns into, and I'm not saying this is what you're doing, Tyrone, by the way. I'm just saying this is what I have seen happen in a larger, not context, but in a larger conversation, which is now it's like, well, how are we going to keep Jerry Jeudy happy and David Njoku happy when we got all these? Do we need to trade somebody? You know, no, we got enough players for the targets that we're going to have this season. There's going to be games where Jerry Jeudy gets the ball a ton because there's a matchup that they want Jerry Jeudy to take advantage of. There's going to be games where David Njoku gets the ball a ton. Part of the reason David didn't get the ball a lot this week, I talked about it before the game. And if you watched this channel before the game, you would have understood this. David was going to have to babysit and handle Trey Hendrickson as well, right? Like, he was going to have to do something about Trey to help DeJuan Jones in his first start at left tackle. So he wasn't really going to get a ton of opportunities to get the ball or to get plays designed to him. And even then, if the screen pass doesn't get tipped by Logan Wilson, we're probably talking about a plus 100-yard day for David Njoku. But that's life, right? There are going to be days where those screen passes don't get tipped and David gets a big run. There are going to be days where David doesn't have to, you know, sit over the left tackle and chip block all game, where he can get open and David has a big game. There are going to be days where Jerry Jeudy's going up against a corner that they feel like they can really take advantage of, and Jerry's going to have a big game. You know, they're going to use these players as they come. There's going to be games where Harold Fannin gets 9 targets. There's going to be games where Harold Fannin gets 2 targets. This is just the flow of the NFL season. Just because it happens in one week does not guarantee it's going to happen in another week. And when it comes to targets, that's 100,000% the case. You know, so I wouldn't read too much into what we saw this week. There's going to be opportunities for everybody on this offense because they need a lot of people to step up on this offense. But thank you for the question, Tyrone. The next question comes from Luke. Luke says this: after watching the All-22, I thought Cedric Tillman really got open on most routes. If he continues to get open and have great games, could he be due an extension by the end of the season? I think so. I think you want to get ahead of it when it comes to a wide receiver, right? Like, you don't want to get caught lagging behind on an extension. I think what Cedric has done in his last 6 or 7 starts has been pretty impressive. If you look at it, about 66 yards a game, which is a 1,000-yard pace that Cedric Tillman has been on since week 7. So basically since Deshaun Watson went down with the Achilles injury last year. That's the kind of production that Cedric Tillman has been able to give you. And keep in mind, he gave you that production last week while leaving a lot on the table. So yeah, I think Cedric, he's getting open. He's an NFL wide receiver, and I think he's a guy who, with the right circumstances, can get to 1,000 yards. We'll see how much further he goes beyond that. But yeah, if you're asking me if I'm encouraged about Cedric Tillman, the answer is yes, I am encouraged about Cedric Tillman. The next question is also from Luke, who asks about Andrew Schmidt. Do you ever think Andre Schmidt will get it right eventually? I don't know, man. Like I told you guys, we need to stop acting like we know, bro. I think the second people stop acting like they know when it comes to kickers, the better off we'll be. I have no way of evaluating that. How would I even go about evaluating that, right? If you're asking me about a linebacker who's struggling, there are ways to evaluate that, right? If you're asking me about a running back who's struggling, there are ways to diagnose what's going wrong with the running back, what the problem is, and fixing that problem, right? Quarterback, same thing. Any other position on the football field, there are tools and knowledge that we have accumulated over the past couple of decades, or not even couple of decades, hundreds of years, to be able to diagnose these problems. Kicker is not one of those positions where anybody speaking on it, even people who are qualified, can really know what's going on. Like Phil Dawson can get on here and tell you everything that Andre Schmidt needs to do to account for the win in Cleveland Browns Stadium, and Andre Schmidt can still take all that advice and miss kicks because it might be mental, right? Like it might be mental. I mean, I've seen Phil Dawson, who best kicker in Cleveland Browns Stadium history, give all the advice in the world to young kickers, and those kickers miss kicks. Indefensible kicks. I've seen these kickers miss kicks in domes. My point is, I don't know. Do I think that Andre Schmidt will get it right eventually? I don't know. I'm not really that invested in it, if I'm being honest with you, because if he misses another kick, I don't care if he gets it right eventually. I want the Browns to move on. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at. I don't care if it can get right. I don't care about how long the rough patch is. If he misses another kick, we can't deal with that. We got to move on. No more. Get somebody else who could do it. Right? That's just what it is. This is not quarterback. This is not linebacker. This is not running back. This is not a position where you just try to develop somebody. Either he can kick the kicks or he can't kick the kicks. There is no other answer. Can he do it? Yes or no? The answer is no. You got to go. That's really what it is. All right. Let's get into the next question, which is from Evan Watson. Evan says this: do you think Jerome Ford is somebody that the Browns could be on the trading block? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think the Browns are really in a position to trade another veteran running back, the only veteran running back on the roster. I think people are overlooking that, by the way. If the Browns trade Jerome Ford, which, look, if I'm going through my questions, my comments, and the hot takes for this week, it seems like a lot of y'all want Jerome Ford gone. And I understand that. But understand, if you get rid of Jerome Ford, you have nothing but rookies in that running back room. Like, that's not good. That's not smart. And again, people gonna have to deal with this. Jerome Ford's not an every down running back, but Jerome Ford is a productive running back for you over the course of a season. Was he productive last week? Absolutely not. But he's not the worst thing on earth. Like, people talk about Jerome Ford as if he's never been productive once in his life. He is a productive running back. He's just not a consistent running back. He doesn't need to be your number one back. He doesn't really even need to be your number two back. But if he's the third guy in your rotation, he's fine. And I heard some people like, I'd rather have Rocket Sanders. I don't know what people saw from Rocket Sanders in week 1 that made them encouraged. I did not see much that made me encouraged. But yeah, I get it. I know why people are frustrated with Jerome Ford, but I'm not going to trade away the only veteran in that room and then go with what to replace it. Like maybe if this was the offseason and you could bring in a J.K. Dobbins or something, and then you could let go Jerome Ford. Yeah, I'd be down for that. I'm not opposed to letting go of Jerome Ford. But, I don't want to just leave a running back room with no veterans in the room at all. And Jerome Ford, he's a questionable veteran. I would like a more experienced veteran in that room than Jerome. This is why I wanted Nick Chubb back. But they didn't want to do that. I understand there's a youth movement going on at the position. But at some point, there has to be someone with pads on that has experience. I know that they got a former player as a running back coach, but that's not enough. Being a coach is not the same as being in the room when it comes to the player perspective of it, right? Like a coach is a completely different role than another veteran in the room. I think you need a vet there, right? Jerome Ford is pushing it, calling him a vet. He's still on his rookie contract. But I really don't want to be left with a room with a UDFA. Y'all, some of y'all are arguing for 2 UDFAs in Amani Marshall and Rocket Sanders. I think Rocket might have been a 7th-round pick, but basically a UDFA for the Browns. And then, a rookie and another rookie. I don't know. 3 is fine. 4 is a lot. Like the whole room being rookies, I don't know. I don't feel great about that. Another one, Luke really got a ton of questions off. I gotta give him less next week because he got too much shit off this week. I gotta nerf him. All right, hey Q, Isaiah Bond really played a lot more than Jamari Thrash. Do you think this was just because of the game plan, or that they just like Isaiah Bond better? It's the game plan. It's almost always the game plan with stuff like this. Right. The Browns were going to utilize 2 tight ends last week. The Browns were going to utilize their running back. Really didn't leave room for an extra wide receiver. There are going to be weeks where that might be the case, right? They wanted to have Isaiah Bond in there to maybe do a gadget play here or there, maybe hit a deep shot. So yeah, I think it's more about the game plan with stuff like that in general than it has to do about specifics. My guy, the Spartan, says, if we get Judd back and it becomes clear the O-line was what's holding the run game back, what adjustments can you make mid-season? Maybe incorporating Tevin Jenkins in there. I would argue it might be something to consider, swapping Tevin in there at times, not all the time, not full time, with Joel if Joel continues to lack power on his pulls. That's really it though. I don't know what other adjustments they can really make if the O-line can't really block for him. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the O-line the run game takes time, man. I think people don't really get that. The run game it takes time because the run game is truly a Rube Goldberg machine where one thing needs to happen on time and then another thing needs to happen on time, which leads to a third thing happening on time. It's why I talk about a defensive lineman against a run knocking down dominoes, right? It's a lot of things that have to fall in place for a run to be successful. And right now the Browns just aren't in sync. Guys aren't getting to spots at the right time. Guys aren't hitting their spots. Stuff like that. I think they just need more reps. Keith says this. Is it finally time to stop calling for Kevin Stefanski and AB to be fired? The Deshaun Watson fiasco set the Browns back quite a bit, but in my opinion, Kevin and particularly AB are doing a good job of recovering and rebuilding. What are my thoughts? I think it's a little bit too early to tell, but so far so good with the rebuild. I'm encouraged about the last few draft classes. I talked about that in a video about Andrew Berry. And I think when it comes to Kevin Stefanski, I don't know if there are a lot of coaches out there who could have won 11 games twice in the 5-year span that Kevin Stefanski has. I'm going to be real with you. Like, I think especially what he did in 2023 was special. Now, I don't know where that puts him on the totem pole of coaches. I'm not really interested in doing that. Like, I don't think that there's a such thing as like elite coaches or franchise coaches. It's like either a coach is good or not, right? And I think Kevin's a good coach, and I think AB has done a great job at the pro personnel stuff, and now he's even doing a good job at the draft stuff. So, you know, I feel like there's a chance to rebuild right now from Deshaun Watson, and given how big of a mess up that was, that's an incredible place to be at. So yeah, so far I'm pretty happy, but we'll see how this continues to go. But that's it for your questions. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.